Oh, hello. Welcome to Between the Sharks. Today, we have got to turn this piece of Swiss cheese back into a passenger side 26-27 Roadster or touring door. Guy just checked on eBay. There's one available, $375 American dollars. So if you guys are wagering whether I'm even considering that, nope, not even for a moment. This may look like our problem, but it's not actually the thing that's keeping us from moving forward. This door is actually really good up here. So in theory, today's original plan, in fact, well, time machine back to what happened, but today's original plan was to get this door in so that we could weld all of the passenger side panels together so that we could start building some structure. The top piece of the door is fine and in theory would allow us to get through most of that. Even the sides are enough to, like, in theory, stick the door into the car and move on with our lives and then fix the Swiss cheesiness of it later. A bigger problem. At some point, our door got bent well beyond what it should have by the hinges. It's not good. The hinges are attached to a piece of steel that runs in here and has what seem to be 5 spot welds. At this point, I'm pretty confident. I've tried every kind of leverage thing to bend this back. Everything I came up with, roll tape, and we'll see what that was. Do it. Sure seems simple enough, but everything I came up with seemed like it was going to do more damage to the thing I was leveraging against. So at this point, my thought is to just not overthink it. I can either shim this hinge out if I need to, or once I get the hinge where I want it, I can tack weld it in. Again, we're not doing a restoration and we're not doing a show car. We need a functioning hot rod. This is pretty bad, but fortunately we have this chunk, and if you look, it's actually broken. We basically have all of it. As far as the door skins, there's 3 ways to approach this. Go get yourself a better door. They're hard to find. Buy a door skin from Howells or some other company that makes sheet metal. Option 3 is build a door from scratch. The thing determining my choice of trying to repair this door is really based on my effort to not totally erase the history of this car. So much of this door is good. If I can put this back together, A, this door stays on the road, and B, it's gonna have more, you know, Henry fortitude. So I'm gonna try to fix this door. These are a good idea. All right, just catch your breath. I know this is not how the fancy people do it. This is wrong. You should never, I know. Just vent it in the comments and then, but bear with me here. This is not the traditional way of doing it. This is not how they show you on TV with the fancy TIG weld and the blah, blah, blah. That's not our world, man. What we have here is a 100-year-old door. The ideal thing would have clean metal to clean metal and a butt weld. I get it. You know what I don't have? Clean metal. So I just measured my driver's door, and from the inside of this roll at the top to the flat spot just before the corner at 18 1/4 top to bottom, and same measurements on the front side, 17 3/4, which makes sense that the door gets roughly a 1/2 inch taller as it goes up the car. That's pretty clear in the shape that that's sort of the general motion it should do. Now, it's interesting because just eyeballing this, it looks like this should be flat, and it almost looks like this does a 1/2 inch rise. So let me see if I can find a square and prove that. So just as a rough mark squaring off this edge headed that way, we have really, really, really close to a 1/2 inch. So what that means, what that's telling me, if it's accurate, is this is flat, this is flat, this is flat. So side toward the cowl, side toward the back, and the bottom are roughly a square, and then this top piece angles up to follow our body line. That's where it wants to be, just where I laid it down. 18 1/4, according to the driver's door. It's 17 3/4. So it's nice to have that other one for reference. This is a much larger gap than I expected, because it really does seem like it wants to kind of fit together. But I feel pretty confident based on all of the other measurements I just took that that's pretty close to what it wants to be. So let me get it all kind of done. I'm going to take this piece of sheet metal that I cut to 18 1/2, which is roughly the inside of our door, and roughly 5 inches tall, which is basically the extremes of our disaster area here. Cut all of this out, weld this new panel in, and just put the bead back on the outside. And that's not a terrible choice. Hold your horses and watch this. So let's take a quick look in here. We've got basically the chunks are kind of clamped together with a piece of sheet metal underneath. This measurement is 18 1/4. Here to here is 17 3/4, which seems accurate for what the driver's door is, and that's my best door. I'm thinking if I can get this bead welded together and figure out how to attach this side to this side, perhaps what we can do is, once this door perimeter shape is there, we can trim out the sheet metal along the edge of the bead and straight across up here, and then butt weld this piece to our sheet metal and basically tuck the other part right behind our bead and weld this edge. All right, so let's talk about welding what used to be metal. There's not much to work with here. That's kind of the thing. So what we have left to work with is much more iron oxide than it is carbon steel, meaning it's rust. And I'm gonna try to do this with a MIG welder as much as I can, because that's what most people have. I do have a nice TIG, and there are some cheats you can do by brazing non-structural stuff with silicon bronze. The issue, the real issue with even doing that in a situation like this is that TIG machines don't like dirty metal. They only like extremely clean environments to work. We're sort of in a position that, you know, if we went ahead and cleaned all this up with a grinder, well, we just wouldn't have anything left. I am clamping this like crazy right here. I'm gonna start on this crack because this actually happened in my possession. This was all loose, this finally broke free. For right now, I'm gonna start with the 110 MIG, turn the amperage as low as I can get it, turn the wire speed higher than it should be so that I have more filler material. It doesn't like to operate like that. It likes to operate at the right amount of filler. If we can get a couple tacks in here, then maybe I can show you a more different trick. So with each little like burst of tack weld, I am hitting the last weld I did as soon as it's cooled and moving a little bit into the new metal. It's sort of like pushing the heat into the, well, I say new metal, I mean into the metal from the door. So if you start blowing a hole that's like just growing and growing and growing and growing and growing, patience, man. Just slow down, let the whole thing cool just a little bit, and then go back in and start on the weld you just did. All right, that's at least structural. We go back and get this part in here a little more now that it's pulled. I know you're not going to see this on some kind of shiny metal Instagram thing, but we're going to fix this door, so it's going to be okay. I actually feel pretty good about trimming this out and then butt welding this door skin to this edge. Now my plan though is not to do just that. This top edge will butt weld, and then my thought is we'll cut this out right at the bead, and this part will sleeve under the bead, and then we'll weld in real gently like right here, and we should be able to grind that down to a super nice contour. That's my plan. So when I cut this door skin, I'm going to cut to the inside of the Sharpie line. Mostly because the back edge will be accessible, and so if I need to trim this down, I just flip it over and kind of cut it off. All right, so while cutting this out, we got a little clue to what caused the problem, or one of the things. When you get used to doing this with the old stuff, burning through rust smells like one thing. Burning through rust caused by rodent pee is a totally different smell. All right, now I got a big old hole where there used to be a more different shaped hole. We'll call that progress. All right, so this guy is what's been, well, was foiling me yesterday. But now, considering I have access to it, I'm wondering if I need to try to take the torch to it right here and see if I can bend it straight. Because if you look at it, it is leaning back pretty badly. I guess we ought to Not gonna get another shot at this, are we? Son of a... It looks like the worst of our bend is right here. And this thinner part where the hinge plate was seems to have rolled this way. So while I have access, I guess I'll try to put an acetylene torch on this, heat it up, and then wang it down right here and see if we can flatten it out. Fire up the Jalopy. Here comes the circus. So we're gonna use this clamp to push down on this piece, leveraging against this piece, right after we heat this edge right here with the world's largest oxyacetylene torch. Might work, might not, we'll see. I wonder if I have a pressure issue outside, but this should be good enough to do what we need to do. This is not ideal. If the clamp was flipped over, I'd be crushing our sheet metal. So that's why we're using this clamp. Kind of worked out the way that it's worked out. You know, potentially worked more gooder than expected. Yeah, okay. All I'm doing is eyeballing what that looks like in here and what this looks like. So, in theory, this is cooling enough and I'm moving so slow that it's not gonna spring back like it's a piece of spring steel or something. This is definitely better. I'm gonna knock this hinge in. It's upside down, but I don't think that will make any difference. That's excitement you hear in my voice, boys. That's so much better. All right, part 22. So now we're gonna go back to fitting our piece. Measurements now. 17 3/4, that's good. 18 1/4-ish. We're all good as far as plus or minus a 1/16 or something like that. Not bad. It's not perfect, but it's, you know, it's metal where there didn't used to be any metal. So let's get this bead straight, get it clamped right, and then we'll tack it down. So the way we're gonna do this is a mixture of straight edge and eyeball. It's not gonna take much force to hold these in place, and you know, just in case anybody's really watching at home, I don't want to crush this bead anyway. Just for fun, if this is 17 3/4 and this is 18 1/4, roughly in the middle where this crack is, we should be right about 18. On the money. On the money. And then we just gotta weld all this up. Trim the back off, weld that up. And then we've returned one Roadster door to functioning condition to be enjoyed by the people of this fine planet. I'm gonna do my best to do this literally with just a 110-volt MIG, because if you're building this at home, this is probably the tool you're gonna need to invest in. Maybe we'll break out the TIG for, you know, some other thing later just for fun, but it can be done. So it's a little trick for some of my really bigger than I wanted gaps around here. I can, for the bigger gaps that, you know, either rusted issues or, you know, fitment issues, using a TIG welding rod is not a bad choice as a little bit of filler for the MIG to hit, and it will melt in and do what it's supposed to do. Some people use coat hangers. Guys, if you're at the welding shop anyway, just, you know, do yourself a favor and grab some of this stuff. This is an effort in full disclosure. It's ugly right now. Lots of booger welds on rust and whatever else, but just, you know, just give me a minute. We're gonna grind it down, and then we'll hammer and dolly this one low spot that I got into it, and then we'll see where we are. I mean, this pitting and garbage, I don't want it to be rusted out and falling apart, but so far at this point with the car, I'm sort of embracing the kind of junkyard jalopiness age of it all. If I was thinking I was going to go for anything better finish, even super traditional hot rod type stuff, not even show car, I think I would do this differently. But again, right now my goal is preservation of the age and everything more than trying to make it perfect. There's an essence. We are not going for rat rod in any way, shape, or form. But we are leaning a little bit toward jalopy with this project and the body and how that's gonna be. I mean, honestly, everything. We've got wishbones and a drop axle. We've got a lot of stuff that's already aged, and that's just the world we're gonna live in, because that's what we got. Much better. So we're getting there. I mean, this texture from these flap discs will make anything look good on the old internets. If you feel it, we definitely have some lumpy stuff. It's not as nice as our original door skin up here, but it's 1,000 times better than it was. I wish I'd paid more attention to the corners, because it's actually pretty hard to get a grinder with that radius in there, but I'm gonna clean this up, transition this a little bit, maybe fill in some more weld, make it smooth. The simple reality is, for the bottom of the door, compared to where we were, this is all aces. Remember where we started, guys. Remember where we started. All right, so that's going to conclude the work on this door for now. There's more grinding and stuff we can do to like finesse and fine tune, but I'd rather go ahead and get this back on the car, see how it looks, and move on. Reskinning this door would have been sort of the wrong fit for the rest of what we're doing on the car here. Because we're going to try to preserve as much of the original car with whatever layers of paint are on it and all of that jazz to show the history. I'm not trying to match crappy work, but you know what I mean? We're not looking for super slick. We're using as much of the 100-year-old door as we possibly can. And remember, that's where we started. So this is a vast, vast, vast improvement. Because I don't know what the finish is going to be as far as paint or anything on something like this, which has two kinds of bare metal, we're just going to figure that out when we get there. So, sort on the car, take a closer look. But a guy could imagine, you know, with his imagination, how this might work. So there we are. We have a door where there was no door. This was an inch too short. Obviously nothing's attached, but we're getting to a place where maybe it can be at some point. This door was completely rotten out this morning. We are now in better shape. We adjusted where our hinges go, although we have no hinges in here. This needs love. So this will be probably the next episode, but here's a little, you know, teaser. Scrap Heap's gonna be back on the road, you know what I mean? Success on the door today is what I'm gonna call it. We'll move on tomorrow. Thank you very much for watching. As always, subscribe if that's your bag. If not, that's cool too. Anyway, we'll see you next time on Between the Sharks.